if they're not full, and apparently they haven't been for years. I did a couple years ago, we put everything up. I don't understand. It's just a question. Mine is above ground.
We're talking about the insurance, national insurance that includes the underground wetlands. So we get happy, so we get a sole liability.
Is there?
I got some idea who we could go.
Okay, that's it, that answers the question, that's all I want.
Okay, so now we actually are kind of these, just go back on our project. So everyone can just project what's important, so that way it's recorded, so now live.
Okay.
So we just, we'll continue with the board liaison appointments. Here's, actually, we need to discuss this before. Since we all didn't have a full last year, committee that we committed to, does anybody disagree that we continue to list the committee?
I just would like to, which one is the allergy? Is that health and wellness?
Health and wellness, yeah.
I would like to be added to health and wellness.
With Mr. Montori or instead of?
I would like to be out of it, but no. But I can do it. I'll do it.
Do you want to stay on health and wellness?
Yes,
Okay, so like,
it'd be a pleasure.
okay, sure.
But that's not what I said, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the valid one, because we both on nutrition, but I don't think it's valid.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then I think I also would like to be part of the school business partnership committee. You can have my name and Mr. Montori for that as well. But then everything else you just make, portfolio, you can find the committees you're on. Audit, technology. Okay, terrific.
Very
So, let's carry it forward, let's like changes.
sound wise.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Okay, Steve, Board of Education moves to regular business.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Okay, then we'll move over to our regular business meeting.
Every year that one is so. It's like so, go, right?
I think we're gonna skip the whole order and let again.
Those guys.
All right, first question to advise members of the audience. Engage with the board, which is the superintendent. Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, just briefly, there's been a lot of discussion about reopening schools in September, and there is some misinformation out there. Just so that everyone knows, next Monday, the Board of Regents is going to meet in Albany. We believe the Board of Regents, in conjunction with the governor, will be giving us a template to fill out a reopening plan which we have been discussing. We've got ideas, many districts have gone ahead and published before they even had a template. We believe that it will be due on or about July 31st. There's been a misconception that somehow that this report was due on July 15th. That's not true. We have a clear direction by the middle of next week, and our plan for the state by July 31st. We're sending out a series of surveys. We sent them to the public. We're sending them to staff. We're going to send out a second set of surveys after we get specifics from the governor. And then the governor has said that there will be a decision the first week in August. There are really only three options. We come back all together. We come back in a hybrid fashion, which means, some sort of schedule where we alternate in and out, or we go back to remote learning, which will look much different than the remote learning we had in the spring. So we will do our best to keep you informed. I want to thank everyone who filled out the survey. We had almost 2,000 surveys returned, which is about 80% of our families. We believe that these surveys provide vital information, but it also gives everyone in the community a chance to voice their opinion. So I want to thank everyone for that. And we do have a question about some stuff. We're going to discuss that in front of everyone in new business. So I will turn my back over to the President, Mrs. Conley. Congratulations, Mrs. Conley and Mrs. Zachary. And also I'd like to thank Mrs. Coughlin and Mr. Montori for serving this past year as President and Vice President. The whole board deserves a lot of credit, gets a lot of work done. And we're seeing a lot of good things happening here. Even under some difficult conditions, but it was a pleasure to have Mr. Coughlin and Mr. Coughlin and Mr. Montori following me on a daily basis, and I look forward to talking to Mrs. Conley and Mr. Zachary also.
Should be that, right? Speakerphone.
Consent agenda items. Would any of you like any consent agenda items removed?
I want to discuss like 1.3.
Sure. You all right, Lee?
Yeah.
Any other?
Non-13.
Agenda consists of agenda items 9.1 to 9.2, 9.4, 9.6 to 9.12, 9.14 to 9.19. Get a motion?
Second.
All there? Okay. So we'll go back to Commissioner Montoya, 9.3. Be resolved on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, Board of Education, approves both the East Central Middle School participation rate improvement plan, PRIP, and JS9 Kennedy Elementary School participation rate improvement plan, PRIP, for the 20.
Can I do this? Tell me if it spikes.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I just again would like to ask, Mr. Mandel.
A little bit.
This is all set to
Is it the
go.
4?
No.
Not even?
No.
State has recommended.
Pretty
this.
sure it's gonna
Is that okay?
be a little bit. When I was speaking, did it go higher before? When I was speaking?
Okay, so we approve this, and then we give it to the state, or the state, and they have to approve, it, or they just want to look at it. They just look. Were they ready? You know, these kids, these children, whether they put it up, classroom, or they. Okay, the school one, there's a school one. Well, because it says JFK, so I don't.
JFK was one to identify
Okay, so those kids will still be in the same classroom. Well, how do we judge if they get up to 90%?
This is the.
It's
And that's the test, the state test. And if they don't take the state test, they're probably.
It's tough,
The
though.
same thing next year.
It's using that one. It is using that. It wasn't before. Where it is now?
Okay, all in favor? 9.5. Be resolved
Just
on
like
the
you're saying
recommendation
this.
of the Superintendent of Schools,
You'll
Board
hear
of
it.
Education approves the adoption of policy number 7810, cooking facilities. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? I actually, this is something that I brought up in the last meeting, and we have to revise policy. Put that, It's shorter, more concise, I think especially given, how we're going to be more efficient with the wording of everything. And making the policy a little easier to understand. So if there's no objections, I'd like to just read the shortened policy, so that way we can change it at this point and we can adopt it. And then I want to finish it. Okay. Closing of the school facilities, policy 7810, when the school building becomes inadequate by virtue of age, condition, size of the site, lack of need, or other overriding limitation, and cannot reasonably and economically be brought up to the current educational standards, the building will be considered for a comprehensive building study. The superintendent of schools will recommend to the Board of Education which facility appears to justify further analysis. Any decision to close the existing school facility.
She just talk louder.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. So then we will go back to 9.13, and I apologize, I skipped over the personnel, and we'll go back to those parts. 9.13. Be resolved on the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approve the extension of the contract for the 2020 summer school transportation. The cost will be increased by meeting CPI, which is 1.4%. The estimated cost for the service is $270,494.03. The actual cost for the 2019 summer school transportation was $163,316.05.
Second.
Discussion?
Again, I just have a question. So, that 270, first of all, we don't have summer school, right?
Can't. They can't hear. Can we tell them to talk?
Mhm.
Then you feel that
Can you hear your phones calling?
It's a phone sound system that they set up, which I have no idea where they're even at. And I can't find one custodian.
So this number is not really going to be much lower.
Some are totally dependent on the location being transferred. And when we enter the contract with the university school, we don't know that it's being transferred, so it's always an estimate.
Okay, so we have budgeted 270 budget
On some school programs, the 80% still there.
for both sides.
On real estate, they do,
Oh, okay.
so you budget the difference. 20%. And still there for the
Okay, so this figure is. Yeah, that's all right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay, I apologize, let's get section, the action, recommended action regarding personnel. It was, that President of the Board of Education is authorized to execute the fourth amendment to the agreement with Paycom Services Incorporated, extending the term for the provisions of school security management and consultation service for the period from July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved that the Board of Education, be resolved that the Board of Education of the East Side Community Free School District herewith approves a fourth amendment to the June 22nd, 2015 employment agreement as amended between the Board of Education of the East Side Community Free School District and Superintendent John Rowe. Be further resolved that the President of the Board of Education of the East Side Community Free School District is here and authorized to execute on behalf of the Board of Education a fourth amendment to Superintendent John Rowe to the Board of Education of the East Side Community Free School District. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Longest running superintendent in decades. So, thank you very much. For your district.
Thank you.
So,
Those are saying,
Opposed,
Fourth amendment to, Mr. Mansell's contract. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the East Exeter Union Free School District hereby approves the Fourth Amendment to the employment agreement with the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction and Personnel, Mr. Paul Mansell, dated July 9, 2020, and be further resolved, the Board President is herewith authorized to execute said agreement. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mansell, for.
Now there's a big glare. But I can't go around.
Sixth Amendment to Mr. Harrison's contract. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the East Exeter Union Free School District hereby approves the Sixth Amendment to employment agreement with the Assistant Superintendent of Business, Mr. Steve Harrison, dated July 9, 2020. Be it further resolved that the Board President is hereby authorized to execute said amendment. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you again.
Yeah, and there. Those are two. So it's like that.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of East Exeter Union Free School District hereby approves the first amendment to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Administration. Document selected and files dated July 9th, 2020. Be it further resolved that the Board President is hereby authorized to execute said amendment. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Abstain.
That is.
All right, yay. Bullies. Thank you, Dr. Joe.
When Chris calls, don't answer the phone.
Okay. Certified personnel. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the resignation, termination, leave of absence, and dismissal. Employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and school service law, as cited in the certified personnel. A motion?
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any way we can get her to talk really loudly? But she's just talking really fast and loud.
Employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the non-certified personnel matter. The motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a number three. I asked to see why I'm not mistaken. It could be that we've had a discussion about not replacing a office assistant that's in the point, due to the fact that they already have two there. So why are we putting someone there? We talked about if somebody was going to leave, that we would replace them.
Okay, since this is a personnel issue, I think we need to table,
But we can't.
table number 3. So we're gonna, vote on number 1, 2, and then 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you.
Table number 3, and we'll discuss that in a second. Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then we will go down to. Donation. Here is on the recommendation of superintendent of Board of Education to accept the donation of the attachment property from Ms. Vera Mercedes, Mrs. Harris, Ms. Eckert, donation provided at March 22nd, This donation will be going to the high school.
Again?
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Any other? Appropriations. Please resolve the term recommendations to present a school board of education appropriations.
Motion. Second, sorry.
Discussion? Mr. President, could you just explain, the reason behind so many appropriation changes this year?
Sure. Normally during this time of year, we're adjusting items that require adjustment, and there will be more of them this year because of financial transparency report. We have new budgets on people, two different codes, coding levels. So we originally budgeted in top of the house net code. And now that we have to break these out of building money, this is those transfers to make it happen. That is much part of those transfers. In addition, is a transfer for $48,000. We use a contractor through the Northeast Government, have a new budget including the ground code, and that requires us to move money to pay those school loans and percentage from state aid.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to old business. Do you have anyone that would like to bring up any old business?
I do have some old business real quick.
Okay.
Mr. Harrison, the audit from last year, there was something about inventory of our assets, and we had talked about it, but then this whole craziness began. We have a plan moving forward with that, or kind of table that for now and then we get back to it later on, or
I can't say it's been tabled. We have made some adjustments to our inventory process, not to the scope we were expecting, but we do plan to visit it.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, any other old business? New business?
I have a question on new business about the special ed person's not here tonight. We have a report that you said she would have today. Bosses, you have it? Well, I'm just wondering, Bosses, who runs the summer school for the kids right now? Yes, I understand that. It's in licensed teachers, it's licensed, and who pays that? The district? The district. What is there, would there be a problem with Boston's took over completely? Like we did with the AIDS, when, remember we had the AIDS and we said somebody, why, you know, right, same thing, Boston's can run the whole program. They'll be in charge of transportation, they'll be in charge of the teachers, the aides.
We have to put that out.
Well, I have requested that, apparently I haven't got it. And I wanted that for this meeting tonight because I wanted to see what the difference would be. If it would, you know, I think it's an important, due to the fact that, you know, who knows what's gonna happen, that's all I want.
So just like to have
Go ahead.
an analysis of through special ed course under 8% of the cost. The state aid students is part of the same program that transportation is. So we have to look at whether or not the 20% will be offset by more of the.
Well, you have to remember, you're paying, the money that they're making is going towards their pension. Okay, so we have, you know, what's the higher, teachers get the woman, you know, then they can say it, but, you know, so I just wanted to get a thing, would it be reasonable to have the BOCES take over the program? If teachers wanted to work there, then BOCES would. We just look at that. Well, that's why I asked,
we send some of our students to those.
Yes, you know what my question is, okay? Is it reasonable to have folks think of the cost factor instead of paying on teachers? You understand? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think that's another, that's a contract.
Personnel?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
a contract and personnel related question, and I think that needs to be discussed with that
Okay,
as well.
yeah, that's fine.
But, I thought you wanted just comparison of what the program was, what our.
Well, I asked for that too.
Okay, all right, so then let's make sure
Yeah.
that that gets circulated to everybody, and then we'll have a discussion with them on
Thank you.
meeting agenda. Okay, I have actually a question. If we can please consider, since the high school is in, basically a demolition, they're in a demolition phase for the meeting suite and, the locker rooms in the gymnasium. Can we fast track and get some savings on the high school bleachers or have during this phase rather than hold that until next summer? Is that a feasible expenditure for the board to, if we can see cost savings of up to $100,000? What we're doing now, can we,
See if we have the money. And it's hard, phase the bond.
We have to look at it, we just follow the projects that were slated to go for the next several months. I wish the beach was going to be included, but I'll take a look at it, but for the rest of us, I'm going to see what we can do.
yeah, if we save the community and the district money, I think we should be able to that. And if, the middle school is not under, construction at the moment, but if it's, economically feasible, we should do both simultaneously,
We're gonna do it anyway, to save money now.
as long as it's not going to disrupt the school opening of the school, or if it can be ordered and then installed during the breaks. I think that would be, I really think we need to take advantage of the cost savings at this point. So many people have, the economic, the ability to give us a little bit of a break this year, we don't know where we're going to be next year, on the cost of everything. Okay, any other new business?
Oh, I have something besides what Mr. Dolan has said. Is that right?
Okay, so we want to discuss the Redmond?
Mr. Dolan was gonna do that, I was gonna go first one.
Okay, you want to do yours first?
So you said before the governor is going to possibly have 3 scenarios that are possible, right? Remote, in class, or hybrid. Will there be like a percentage of a hybrid, meaning we have to do hybrid once a week? How is that, does anyone know how that's gonna work? Or is that gonna be as part of the parameters?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question.
All right, so we don't know the answer. And now, what about the surveys? Was there anything that came out in the surveys that you delivered to the parents that was overwhelmingly one way or another?
No, I think, I think we're going to ask tougher, not tougher, but we're going to ask some deeper questions next time around. So we got some feedback on how things went in the spring. We all know that things have to, we're going to have to do it differently with remote. The trickiest issue right now is the first step back to school is buses. And there were questions in there around the buses that it was very helpful what the parents told us. And, the hardest thing is, there are 122 school districts on Long Island, and people are jockeying, people want to put out plans, they want to talk about things. Each district is different, they have different class sizes, they have different constraints. The average class is about 900 square feet. You get about 11 kids in there if you go 6 feet on social distancing. If you have a class size of 28, it doesn't bode well for a good rotation. We've got to run 3 days. The elementaries have different challenges than the high school. What we are hoping for is that the governor, state, and the regions, board of regents, simply give us direction on what to do. If they give us direction, we can implement anything. I'm not them.
What if they give us very little work?
Like I said, I'm confident they're going to give us a framework. The governor has promised that the first week in August, he said he's going to tell us if we're going back or not, which will give us 3.5 to 4 weeks to finalize any plans. We'll be discussing things like cleaning, buses, classroom configurations, hallway traffic. We have a small program at the middle school right now. We have a camp down at Timber Point, and we're looking at them just as, I think we have about 25 students at the middle school, and we have about 50 kids down at Timber Point, and we're using them and watching them and seeing how they react. We hope that there's a clear direction. You have to wear a mask. I mean, if you make it optional, it's going to cause problems. Even if you say you have to, if some people are going to object, but no, we have to be patient. And I firmly believe all the theories that have been put out there. I think that we've all seen, all of us in our professional organizations, with our friends and families, we've heard just about every possible combination imaginable. Now we need some direction from state ed, board of agency, and governors. The minute they tell you, I'm really hoping that by next Wednesday we have a template of what needs to be filled in. Because I'm confident we can fill that template in. We'll send it to Albany. The governor will get 700 of them, one for each school district in the state, and then hopefully he will give us a decision. And we saw with graduation. He gave us parameters, and of my 35 graduations, you don't like to say one was favored over another, but I think the 2020 graduation is always going to be special for me, and we followed the direction of the state ed, and it worked out well. So, stay tuned.
How long has South Shore been in operation since the pandemic began? And how many students do they have there?
I don't know the exact percentages. They're not running at full capacity. But Anne Marie's been back since I believe it was right before Memorial Day.
So she's been back since May.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks approximately. And anything from that? Well, that's my fear. Like, we should be working not from March when we decide our plan. Things have changed since March. We've learned a lot about how this transmits and how it goes. We should be guided by what we were afraid of in March when it's July.
I'm suggesting that we bring in a doctor from Stony Brook who deals with the virus so that she can tell us exactly what's going on. I mentioned it was stolen, and it's up to the board, but to bring in somebody who can tell us exactly what this disease is all about. And they really got banged over it, and they know all the good more than the average, person, or the average doctor doesn't see it.
I agree, but I also think we have to weigh the risks of reopening with the risks of not opening. Kids' education is worse off, their social and emotional, we're leaving them at home, nutrition, you name it, it runs the gamut. I know on the one side is the virus, but on the other side, there's a whole bunch of other things. Even the kids, how many kids dropped out in June? Who said, you know what, I'm not going to do any more work. And we have a responsibility also as a board to weigh both those risks. That's how I feel.
Again, though, you don't know, I don't know how much you know about the disease. I don't know that much. So I like to bring somebody in who will tell us kids. I know for the whole country, only 29 kids died. Okay, so kids who are young and, okay, but you've got to worry about the teachers, custodians, security, administrators. That's what most sense to me, because I don't know which way to go. I don't think the kids are going to be a problem. I think it's going to be the adults and people who have secondary problems, and I know that we have a few. That's where I think the state, I don't know how they're going to do that. You can bring back the kids, I don't see a problem. but I have a problem with people who have second opinions. What are you gonna do? And there's no answer.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think, well, we have a lot of theories. And I love the fact that CNN and Fox are right next to each other on TV, because you can just flip from one channel to the other, and you get in two very different realities. One of my favorite quotes of all time was from East Islip graduate, and I think it was 1979, but Greg Murtha, who was the longtime principal at NECBI, and someone who I really respected, used to say to me all the time, he said, John, when the rhetoric from Albany, or the rhetoric from the politicians hits the reality of the hallways, our job is to make it work and we'll make it work. So, you know, I feel for our, you know, sort of our colleagues in the South who are going to start school in 2 or 3 weeks. But I think we're going to watch them, and we're going to have the opportunity to see what they do. You know, I know Mr. Harrison and Mr. Gagliano are working on the hygiene side of the program, and the safety and the barriers and all the necessary things. You know, very, very comfortable. You know, the secretaries came back, the custodians came back. We were able to listen to how they felt and what they needed. You know, that was a real authentic survey. You know, we were able to actually walk into buildings and have people tell us, and they were very honest. Some were very passionate about concerns. We moved offices in some areas, and we're putting up barriers in others, and trying to, I think, make people comfortable and be smart. I'm going to tell you right now that I haven't met anybody that doesn't want kids back in school. I haven't met anybody that doesn't want back in as soon as possible in a safe and orderly fashion. You know, and I'm not going to criticize either side of the meeting. They have some very tough decisions to make. But I'll go back to, from what I've heard, graduation went well. So we're patient, and I believe we're poised and ready. As soon as we get word next week, and I'm confident we're going to get something, we jump on it, we'll submit it to New York State, and then we've got the month of August to get ready. And it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a challenge. But, you know, I just hope our politicians dial the rhetoric back a little bit. We don't need all this rhetoric. We don't need all this screaming. We don't need all this posturing. What we need is a united effort to get our kids back into the classrooms as quickly as possible. We'll do it.
If I could just piggyback this, does anybody have any objection to meeting in person with public? If we were able to have it in a large enough area, say one of the auditoriums, and we can distance the audience 6 feet apart, and we can present, so that way we can let the community back into our meetings? Would anybody have an objection if, you know, the government, you know, right, if everything continues in a positive, or do we want to revisit this to last year and then do, yeah, be distance from one another and distance from the audience, and the audience will be distance. So we can accommodate that, because I believe that the new standard is like up to 150 people for a certain percentage of occupancy. So if we use one of the auditoriums, then we, you know, I can't imagine that. So, yeah, so I mean, you just, yeah. So
There are 150 new auditoriums, we only have 12 in the class.
well, I'd like to say that, you know, we'll meet in person with the public, we'll open our meetings to the public July 30th, or does anybody have an objection to wait till the August?
We're not participating in folks. I agree with Jess, let's open it up to the public.
Okay. Okay, all right, so we'll make sure that we're.
Doing the bleachers outside.
Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing the right thing. Okay, and then, any other, before we talk about the revenue?
What are we doing with sports? Will we go sports? Or what's going on? Or we gotta wait for the government to catch it?
Section 1 has scheduled up all sports.
There's no sport.
No, they have set. Well, of course, unless they pull it, we have no head for, we are being,
So they can
Well,
practice.
sections, no, we haven't got permission to do organized practices, or anything like that.
Now, who gives that?
It's gonna come down from the state, the, New York State Public, School Athletic Association. Robin Zegas is actually, I had a chance to work with him a couple times for meetings with him. He's a good man, passionate man, thoughtful. They're working with the government, it's the same thing, they're working with the government, state aid. Section 11 have to put schedules together, because you have to schedule games, referees, mark everything out, but we opened our facilities for people to exercise, walk, but there are no permits for organized activities. So I believe we'll hear that when we hear.
They'll all come down together.
You guys will hear before me, because I'll be in the office, and you guys will watch the TV, you'll see it before me. So, give me a call when it happens. First week in August.
What did you say you're gonna be?
It'll be in my office.
Let's just tell you one of the.
okay, any other? New business? All right, so we address the, oh. Okay. You want to do the Brennan discussion first, or do you want to read them and discuss?
I think we'll kick it off this way. They're given what's going on in the country, the question has been raised about the decisive mascot and the Brennan. We got a number of questions this week by email. I think at this point, the board wants to begin some discussion. And I can honestly say that since I got here, this never really came up. I had one woman come my first summer here, ask a couple questions, and it never came back. I have to apologize for not following up on it. I'll be happy to do that. This is a very serious question. Several people asked me my opinion, and the thought that came to my head is that in this question, my opinion really doesn't matter. In my opinion, certainly it's not going to be the most important thing. I serve the district, I serve the community of East Islip. The crucial thing is going to be the process by which we make a decision. As an old, and I stress an old social studies teacher, there is a process in place for discussion, debate, polite, and I stress polite and respectful discourse, and then you have elected representatives who can speak and make decisions. What I know is that there is a group out there, and they have spoken to me several times, very polite, very respectful, very passionate, and they feel very strongly about this. And they are putting together a petition and presentation, and they want to come either virtually or live to the next board meeting, and present the petition to the board, which is exactly the way it's supposed to be done in America. You have to be real careful, because this is a very sensitive issue. And I also will throw out the caveat, sometimes when people are wrong, they can be wrong for a good reason. And what is right or wrong? We are going to listen very carefully to the voices that want to speak. And more importantly, I would love this to be a real good lesson for our students, the children, the next generation of East Islip. There are people that feel very passionately about this both ways. And unfortunately, you can't have both opposites being correct. But I do believe if we talk about it, we listen to each other, we listen with an empathetic ear, I think we can come out of this better and stronger. And again, I'm not gonna color the discussion by, tipping my hand about how I feel personally, but I do believe, because the one thing that I've heard in the last several weeks is that this has come up a number of times over a number of years, but we've never had the conversation in public. And, it's my belief that it's time to have a polite, respectful, passionate discussion in public about this. And, and let each side hear how the other feels, let each side try to learn from the other side. And, and we know, and I'll quote the founding fathers, who were terribly flawed, okay? And there were no women. The women were behind the scenes, I'm sure, helping, but the founding fathers had good intentions, even with their flaws. And when you read the Constitution, and when you look at what America is all about, what it comes down to is discussion, debate, discourse. Sometimes it gets a little bit passionate, a little bit heated, but there's usually somewhere in the middle, pieces of both sides coming together to build a new solution. You can call it compromise. I've heard people say that compromise shows weakness, and I think that personally, compromise shows strength. But ultimately, we have to educate the public, and really educate the public to what Red Men means. We have to understand the process by which we came to choose it, and then we have to make a decision moving forward. And, if we've been Red Men for over 50 years, to try to change it in 15 minutes, I think would not do any justice at all. But I think the time now is for the public to speak. I think that the 30th is a great day to have the petition presented. And this way, it gives everyone a chance to see it. Presentation can be made, everyone can hear it. And then I'm sure there'll be some people in town that want to respond. And I think the job of the folks in this room is to listen very carefully and to make a tough decision, a decision that is in the best interest of the community moving forward. And I can't stress this enough. The whole school thing has gotten crazy because people are yelling and screaming or pointing fingers. And I think that kids have seen that and learning it, because that's not the way this country was supposed to be. So I do think there's going to be, as I said, the process that we are going to go through over the next several weeks and months is in some ways more important than the final decision. Because the final decision will be the final decision and we will move forward. But we need to teach our children, and we love to have the children, when I say children and students, this should be part of their learning experience. This should be part. So I wish it wasn't Corona. I wish it wasn't the middle of the summer. Because our children need to be reminded that when you see something that you believe is wrong, you speak up. And then you let the people that feel the other way speak up. And then you try to move forward with the best solution to the problem. So I know I didn't answer your questions necessarily, but I do believe the board has some things they want to make some comments. But I do believe that East Islip is about to have, hopefully, a very rich, enlightening, educational conversation. And I hope there's a lot of reflection. I hope there's a lot of empathy. And I truly hope that we listen to each other. And I trust that whatever we decide, I believe that EI strength and EI pride will carry the day. But we must give everyone who has a feeling about this the opportunity to speak out. So before we make, I was being pressed with decisions, I'm being told that, I got emails that are kind of putting my back to the wall, asking, what are you gonna do today? And what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna ask the board if we can have a very good and rich and fulfilling and most importantly, educational discussion over the next several weeks, or even if it takes a couple of months. And, we'll come out of this better and stronger.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to make a comment at this point? No? All right, any other new business? Public comments? Just, what are the topics? No. No topics? Okay. Great. So, the next Board of Education week regular business meeting will be held on Thursday, July 30th, hopefully with an audience at 7 p.m. with agencies deciding a later date. And motion to adjourn to executive session.
You're,
Thank you. All right.
Joanne, I'm checking those minutes.
Richard, that's the only one.
That is
All
so
right, thank you.
long.
All right, Principal, are you still around?
You lost somebody out.
Yeah, I thought so. So, all right.